Okay, September. 13 books for this month, but some were really short because I had a couple of weeks where I barely got anything done. Reading, I mean. Reading-wise. So, I started September with The Long Walk, a book that I've read when I was much younger. And I always said it was my favorite Stephen King novel. And with the movie coming out, so this is the movie poster. I never really like when they do that, but whatever. So with the movie coming out, I was like, I know I loved it, but I don't know if I would love it now. And I didn't really remember the details of the book anymore. So I was like, I should reread it before the movie comes out and like see if I still love it. I still loved it. I think this is genuinely such a good, be it depressing book. Lots of depressing books this month, just so you know. I would say the movie even like made it a little less harsh than the book. And if you've seen the movie, you're probably like, oh, the movie was quite intense. The book is worse. And the ending is way more depressing too. Which, I like the ending in the book. I was surprised that they changed it, but then again, I understood. I see why they did what they did. But yeah, I loved it. I also saved the retro cover. So this was the original cover for the 70s. I think he wrote it in the 70s, but it didn't get published until in the 80s. So this would be the 80s cover. Yeah, I love it. The major standing there and then two boys like all exhausted. Yeah, I just thought you guys might appreciate the old cover. Okay, then I moved on. I have my random wheel that picks whatever I read, so it picked this one for me, and I was like, sure. But it wasn't bad, but I didn't really like it. It wasn't as crazy as I'd hoped. The POV was very interesting, so this story unravels around you from the perspective of the plant. So the plant is like he's observing, the plant is intelligent, and the plant is like he can feel what they're feeling. Like he puts his spores into people and then knows what they're thinking. It takes place in Ireland, so every now and then I had to ask Sean what certain things meant. It's been a while now, I can't remember. There was one that I was like, oh, deadly. They were like, let's do it, deadly, deadly. And I was like, what the fuck does deadly in this context mean? Apparently it means cool. So yeah, cool. We'll do it, deadly, deadly. And I was like, what? So lots of little Irish things like that where I was like, Sean, what does this mean? But basically it was more about a love story developing between two women who run a flower shop together. And there is a murderous plant in the background of it all. But I was a little disappointed because the plant was really such a small part of the book. It was way more about their relationship and what they thought of each other, which wasn't bad, obviously, but I was really waiting for like horror. I was waiting for the plant to go nuts and just eat people, but it didn't happen. This book fucking sucked. I'm sure some people will love this kind of book, but I was like, what the fuck is going on? So confusing. So this is 3 short stories, and honestly it feels like it's written from the perspective of someone with dementia, because it goes like, it's like very dreamlike, dissociative. It's like this old lady walking down the street, like, okay, this is literally in the book. When a lady goes down the street, she goes into a supermarket and sees a ghost child that's emaciated from the war, Germany, drags her along through the supermarket and wants her to buy all the chocolate because he's so hungry. So it's really sad. I was like, oh man, is she actually seeing that? And then the kid's just gone. She turns into a goose. She just looks into the mirror, sees a little feather, and she's like, oh, I guess I'm a goose. And then she goes to pay, and then she's like, oh, I'm not a goose. It's just like feathers from my down jacket. Okay. And then she's like, oh, I'm outside now. I guess I didn't pay, and just walked off. And that's the end of the story. I'm like, what are you trying to, what's the symbolism here? What are you trying to tell me? I had to go back a page so often to be like, wait, how did we get here? When did we turn into a goose? It's so weird. And then each short story, I was just like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. And I just felt kind of like bad for the main character because it just seemed like they had dementia, honestly, and it was like they just didn't know how they got where they were. And then the story ends super abruptly with the main character just being like, oh, I'm late for dinner. And it's really weird. I think some people might like how weird it is, but for me, I could not follow it. And I came out of this book very disappointed, but it's very short. It's like 90 pages. Ooh, then I went to New Orleans. This Cursed House by Del Sandeen. I liked this one because I love the setting, obviously. It's a very rich white passing family who have black ancestry, but they're white passing and they're very, very rich, but they're cursed and they're stuck in the house forever. And if you try and leave the house, you die. So they find this black woman on the cover who is a long lost relative, who obviously they treat with racism. So it's a lot about like how the black people who are white passing think they're better than the black people that they hire to work at the house. It's a very complex dynamic, and very interesting. So you follow her, so she's hired, and it's all about like how badly they treat her even though she's family, how they're all trying to hide their skeletons in their closets, and she's slowly uncovering all of their dirty secrets. And they're nasty people. That family is so nasty that I was like, just let them die. Like, fuck these people. Leave and let them die. Like, I really didn't like them. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I did like the way it escalated. I loved the ghosts in it that are haunting the house. I thought it was all very interesting. And the setting, New Orleans, oh my god. If you want like a good Southern America horror story, this is it. I really enjoyed it. Then I wanted something like slashery, and this one was on my Kindle for the longest time, so I was like, you know what, I should just read it. Turned out that it was quite a short book, so I actually flew through it, and holy shit, this is one of the more intense slashers. It does not hold back. Like, even kids get killed in a bad way, like 12-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, where I was like, oh, holy shit, I thought the kids would survive just because I'm so used to like kids getting a pass, you know? But this killer does not discriminate on age at all. This one was really way more gory than I thought it would be. And it's a trilogy, so I'm quite interested in reading the other ones as well. The killer is kind of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre Ed Gein situation, wearing people's skins as masks. He has a big machete. So it's very like classic slasher, but really violent. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you might like it. Oh, this one is way too intense for me. This one was so depressing. Definitely deals with a lot of rape. A lot. I did not know what kind of story. I thought it was a haunted ship from the cover. No. So it goes between current day, where someone is trying to explore the wreckage of the ship that's about to be dismantled in a month, and then it goes to the 1800s, to the woman's perspective, who got kidnapped. She basically got sold off by her father, put on the ship to be the ship's prostitute, without her consent, obviously. And from her perspective. So I wouldn't recommend this to anyone to read. This was so intense and so sad. The whole book is more about, not so much about a scary haunting, it's more about learning to cope with your trauma and find peace with it. So I was like, I need something a little lighter. So I went back to slasher. I went to 20th anniversary screening. Also turned out to be like a 100-page book, really short, which I didn't know. Perfect mixture of comedy and terror. It's really weird, but it works. A really bad movie that got shot 30 something years ago came out in select theaters. It was super, super bad, but someone got obsessed with it and decided to kill the people that were like, there were 5 people with him in the cinema, and he decided to kill them in sync with the movie. So he's like working his way down the aisle as the movie progresses, trying to kill people. 20 years later, why did I say 20 or 30? It's 20th anniversary screening. Duh. 20 years later, this guy whose cinema is failing, he's going bankrupt. He kind of like wants to do this crazy publicity stunt. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to re-show this horrible movie. Completely sells out. Like, people want to see it. He even gets one of the cast members to come back for an interview. And yeah, as the cover shows, bloody knife. Obviously, it's going to go super wrong. It was definitely like something, I know it's horror, but it's lighter in a way than the last book. Then this one was very interesting. This was not the cover I had. I read like a newer cover version, I think. This author is from Nigeria, and it's just short stories, which normally I'm not a fan of, but I was just so curious about how different it would be to have horror stories set in Nigeria. And it's the same like other books with short stories. Some are hits, some are misses, in my opinion. Some I really enjoyed, but it's like some stories were like 10, 20 pages. They were mostly about, the theme was mostly like motherhood and not being ready for it. Like women kind of like being forced to go along and marry someone and have kids when they don't really want to. And it's like that, like how they can't really bond with their baby, and then it turns kind of like into this psychological horror for a lot of the short stories. So I think the author struggles with those kind of themes a lot, so that's why they end up in almost all the stories, I think. But very interesting to read, and I learned also so much because I just don't know anything about the country. So I saved some screenshots because I knew I would be talking about it. So I learned about the Naira, the Nigerian Naira, the currency. They keep mentioning Naira, and I was like, I have no idea what that is. So that's the currency. I also learned about the Harmattan. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like a seasonal wind that just blows sand from the Sahara Desert across West Africa, typically from November to mid-March, so over winter. It gets mentioned a couple times in the book that visibility is bad because of it, and I was just like, I never thought about that. I also learned about the pidgin, Nigerian pidgin, the language. Interesting that I think their official language is English, but then they speak pidgin, but then all the billboards and stuff are like either English or pidgin. It was such a interesting mix. But yeah, it says here, pidgin is an English-based Creole language spoken as lingua franca across Nigeria, which I'm also like, okay, I'm learning a lot from these stories. Super interesting. So if you want to read something like completely different, which is still horror stories, I would recommend it if you want like a completely different perspective, like different part of the world. I personally just don't really like short stories, but yeah, this seemed like a unique opportunity, so I was like, I'll read it. Then I switched to The Death of Jane Lawrence. So this is from Caitlin Starling, who wrote one of my favorite books, The Luminous Dead. So The Luminous Dead is the sci-fi caving book. So this was very different. So we went from sci-fi caving to Victorian drama. Very different. So I was a little like hesitant. I was worried that I wouldn't like it, but I should have known. She's so good. I loved this book. It was a bit big. It was a bit chunky. It took me a little bit to get through. It was supposed to be an arranged marriage, but then they fall in love anyway, and like how they get to know each other, and then how she gets introduced to his friends and stuff. Very interesting dynamics. And then in the background, there's like this whole ghost story going on that's just trying to figure out horror, witchcraft, Victorian drama. Yeah, it was very good, start to end. Like it had me like sucked in. I was locked in for this, so it was really good. Then this was also really good. Heads Will Roll, another slasher. I've read quite some slashers this month. I kept forgetting how new this book really was. I think it came out last year. It's about this getaway camp for people who really want to disconnect from technology. So people who have like phone addictions, people who just want to disappear for a bit, people who got canceled online. So the main character was a sitcom Netflix actress. It's very modern. And she made a series of bad tweets that she thought were funny. And then she got canceled over it. And so she was like, I just need to disappear for 2 weeks. So she signs up for this camp. They put her phone in like a locker. And then, of course, it is a slasher. So one by one, they're going to disappear, get picked off, and they need to work together. They're all addicted to their phones, and they have to like learn how to just talk to people again. There was even one time she was like, yeah, Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. And I was like, oh, so it's really recent that they wrote this book. Very easy to read. I loved the setting. I loved like how it plays on these current themes where people are literally addicted to their phone, to technology, and like wanting to get away from all that. I loved it. And then like crazy axe killer in the woods, you know? Ooh, then I read Junji Ito's Frankenstein. So manga, not a novel, but I had it on my to-read list because I am absolutely struggling with Dracula at the moment. I'm still doing Dracula daily. So that's like you're reading Dracula chronologically through the diary entries. But if it wasn't for that, I would have never gotten through the book. I'm almost through it now. So I was like, there is no way I can get through Frankenstein normally. So what I did is I got the Junji Ito version. So I got the manga version of Frankenstein. So I just read the whole manga in a day because it's so easy to read. And now I know the story of Frankenstein. Very interesting. So yeah, if you want to know what the classic story is about with the Frankenstein movie coming out as well, but you can't sit through old books, then try the manga. I do have an extra panel at the end that I saved as well, what Frankenstein's monster looks like, because it was so, I mean, you know Junji Ito, he's so good, but the way he drew Frankenstein's monster, like every time he came on the page, he appeared on the page, I was just like, ooh, you're so gross. Absolute favorite of the month, Rotten Tommy. I read another Sodergren, so he's the author who did the Hair. This one is about 2-3 haunted VHS tapes that this lady who's doing construction on our house finds hidden in the walls. And she doesn't have a VHS player anymore, so she goes to a shop to have it digitalized. And those tapes are haunted. They change slightly every time it's watched. And basically, it's like The Ring. If you watch them, Rotten Tommy's eventually gonna come for you and fucking kill your ass. Like, I love VHS horror like that. And there's like a haunted kids show on one of the tapes. Really weird like shots. I just loved it. It was so easy to read. Fucking flew through it. I liked it more than The Hair, I have to say, but it was also just because it's more my niche of what I specifically like in horror books. And the main character is super autistic, and it wasn't revealed until like 50 or 100 pages in. And as it started, it was so funny. The start of the book, the lady, the main character, has construction happening at her house. So I was reading this like, okay, parallel. And then she was like, I really want to go out for a smoke, but if I go through the front door, I might have to talk to them. So maybe I should take the back door. I should probably offer them a cup of tea, but I really don't want to talk to them. It's probably rude, but fuck it. And I was just like, okay, why is this literally me? And I just kept going, and it was like so many things that I was like, she feels kind of autistic. Like, I don't want to judge too quickly, but like there's too much overlap with my life. Much later in the book, she says that she got diagnosed autistic at like 37, 38. And I was like, I'm 37. So there were so many parallels in this book where I was like, what is happening? It made her super relatable for me. So I really, really enjoyed it. And it turns out in the afterword, the author says David Sodergren he's also autistic. And that's why the character is so relatable, because he put a lot of himself into the main character. Really cool monster, the haunted VHS tapes, just the whole setting. I loved it, start to end. Oh, this one was crazy as well. So I ended the month on Hekla's Children. I had no idea what I was getting into, and this book takes you on a journey. This one was really, really good. I know some people might not enjoy like the route it takes, but I really loved it. It was so crazy. It made me think, it's not like that, but it made me think of Inception, you know, how they go like deeper and deeper into the dream until you just kind of like lost touch with reality and where you are. That's what this book made it feel like for me. I don't want to give too much away, but we were in that other version so long that I completely forgot that I wasn't reading just like a fantasy book. It's hard to describe it without really spoiling anything. It's definitely a horror book, but it definitely has like its lulls where it's more a fantasy than anything. So yeah, this one I thought was amazing. It's 4 children disappear in the woods. One comes out the next day, super dehydrated. So she's found the next day, but the doctor is like, the levels of dehydration she has and starvation is she's been gone for a week. So that'll give you a tiny like snippet of what the book feels like. This is one of those books as well where when you finish it, you kind of want to reread it and see how much you pick up on from the start, knowing what's going on. Because there were so many moments towards the end of the book that I was like, oh, and that's why that happened. Oh, and that's why that worked like that. Oh, okay. Like, really, really good. A big read, but amazing. And then I think I have a Frankenstein picture. Yeah, this is what Frankenstein's monster looks like in the manga. It's really gross. I like it. That was just a little bonus that I wanted to show you. So, amazing, but depressing. Be warned, a little depressing. Gay love story with horror in the background, if that's your thing. If you wanna read about someone's dream state, that's this. Super hard to follow. New Orleans, Southern horror, amazing. Really brutal slasher. Really depressing. So many actually trigger warnings as well. It has self-harm, it has suicide, it has rape. It's just awful. It's such a good story, but it is way too intense for me. This is fun if you like slashers again. Nigeria, West Africa horror stories. Very interesting. Victorian Gothic horror. The guy she marries is a doctor, so she gets to see like surgeries and stuff. I think that's why the red are like stitches as well. But also very good. Heads Will Roll, very modern slasher with cancel culture and stuff. Really enjoyable. Frankenstein's monster, if you want to get through that story in a quick way. Rotten Tommy, amazing haunted VHS. And autism. And Hekla's Children, also really good. So I had not that many stinkers, honestly, this month. There were some books that really surprised me. I also gave this one 5 stars on Goodreads, and I never really hand out ratings. Unless I'm like, perfect start to finish, nothing to add, then I give it 5 stars. So that was this one.